Yeah, maybe we shouldn't share the screen.
No, it's not really because of that. Okay, so let's.
Oh, maybe a lot of people are using it.
No, it's not because of that. I don't know. I have no idea. So let me make you a host.
Okay. Okay. Can you guys hear me better now? Okay. Can you guys hear me better now?
I have a suggestion, may drop in, or maybe it's better to continue your content, and at the end of your presentation, we ask you questions, because interruption gets on nerves. So
Okay.
let's do it, your presentation first, without interrupting with any questions, okay?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. Whenever you hear
please
echo.
put it back on your microphone a little bit.
Back on my microphone.
Okay. Yeah. I made you a host. I don't know that. I don't know. That's the best I can do.
Thank you so much. So, because I'm the host, so now you guys can hear me better?
Yes.
Good.
Much more better.
Much better. Sounds good. So, right, there's a research and teaching university, and somebody just said, like, what is tenure, right? So there is a tenure. Like, in order to get a tenure, you need to publish a lot. What does tenure mean? So, for example, I'm an assistant professor, right? Assistant in Uzbek means yordamchi, so I'm not a yordamchi professor. Once you get your PhD, and if you get a university job, usually jobs in US-based universities are two types: tenure track, non-tenure track. It's not 10-year, like, length, 10 years. No, it's like TENURE, okay? So tenure. So tenure basically means you will work for the university for about 6 to 8 years, and university will evaluate your performance on a yearly basis, okay? How well you do research, how well you teach, how well you do service. And after they evaluate your performance for about 6 to 8 years, then there will be a committee. The committee will review your work, will review your performance, and will, based on that, will hire you for a longer time. So nobody will be able to basically fire you from the university if you get a tenure. You got it? So that's why in research universities, you have to publish a lot. So there is even a statement that says publish or perish. Do you guys know what perish means?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Right? So publish and keep your job, or perish, basically choose another university. So that's why it's a very critical stage in an assistant professor's life to get a tenure. You got it? So, like, for example, my tenure evaluation will be next year. So my university, because I'm in a teaching university, it's located in Chicago, Northeastern Illinois University. Because I'm in a teaching university, for me, it's okay to publish one paper a year, or give a presentation like this. And it's okay for my university, and it's good performance by me to have one publication or to give one conference paper in a year, and the university will be okay with it. But it's very critical for me to teach really well. In other words, my students should like me. My students should like my teaching, okay? So that's what I want you guys to understand. And here's the thing. If in Uzbekistan, everybody is asked to publish, then we have to distinguish, right? Whether it's a research university or a teaching university. So you cannot make this requirement for everybody. Why? Because we know in the United States, we know it in Canada, we know it in some other developed countries, like there are different institution types. Aytmoqchimanki, ya'ni hammaga baravariga maqola chiqarish kerak, hamma degan qonun bu boshqatdan ko'rib chiqilishi kerak. Ya'ni rivojlangan mamlakatlarda bu narsalar yo'q. And now there's administration. I usually have a hate and love relationship with administration. I mean, whether it's in Uzbekistan or in the United States. For administration, it's difficult because they are working for ministries, and ministries are working with prime minister. prime minister works for the president, right? It's really difficult. So they're sort of a gatekeeper, right, between the upper level people and the public, right? So if administration asks you to publish a lot, maybe you have to ask a rhetorical question from the administration, whether they have published themselves. Bu çünkü juda ham zo'r savolda, chunki misol uchun administratsiya deganda kimni tushunamiz? Prorektorlarni tushunamiz. Akademik ishlar bo'yicha prorektorlar bor, hech ham umrida maqola chiqarmagan, maqola chiqar deb aytishadi, right? So maybe we can ask them whether they have published. For example, in the United States, if you have an administrative position, you know that it's difficult for you to publish. Chunki Amerikada misol uchun administrativniy rolingiz bo'lsa, maqola chiqarishingiz qiyin, chunki odamlar bilan ishlaysiz, ko'p ishlar qilasiz. Ya'ni boshingizda qog'ozbozchilik ishlari bilan band bo'lasiz. Shuning uchun ham mana shu narsalarni tushunishimiz kerak biz. Ya'ni kimdan talab qilyapmiz o'zi maqola chiqarishni? Misol uchun agar Amerikani standart qilib oladigan bo'lsak, so if we think that United States education system is an example for us, then we have to know, which university is an example. Is it a teaching university or a research university? Shu. Keyin bir qancha savollar bor. O'sha savollarga javob bermoqchiman. Misol uchun aytishadi, AQSh universitetidagi barcha professorlar maqola yozadimi? Yo'q, AQSh universitetidagi barcha professorlar maqola yozishi shart emas. So sometimes people ask, right? So should all the professors in the United States publish an article? No, because if you're in a research university, yes, you have to publish a lot. If you're in a teaching university, you don't have to publish a lot. Like one paper a year or one conference presentation a year is enough. Like I have a colleague, a friend, we did PhD together, and she's in a research university. She has to publish 3 papers a year. 3 papers in top journals. Okay, while I don't have to publish 3 papers. I have to publish 1 paper, and that's enough. So the next question is that AQShda maktab o'qituvchilari maqola yozadilarmi? No. Teachers at school, like at secondary school or primary school, do not have to publish academic papers. It's not a requirement in the United States. It's good if you go and publish, but you have to be a good teacher. And we know that becoming a good teacher is tough. Some people are good researchers. They're natural researchers, but they're not necessarily good teachers. Some people are really good teachers, but they're not necessarily good researchers. But some people are good researchers and good teachers. So that's why we have to work together. Like teachers have to work with researchers, researchers have to work with teachers. And it doesn't mean that if you do research, you are clever. No. It means you just have some other potential. You just have some other preferences. You have some other interests. So that's why maybe in the United States, in school settings, like in primary school, secondary school, you don't have to publish. And people usually go to conferences for professional development purposes. People sometimes publish, teachers publish in journals, for the professional development purposes, but it's not a requirement. So asking everybody to publish, as long as you're in the education system, is something that needs to be revisited. That's my opinion. Or people who are making this law, mana shu qonunni qilayotgan odamlar, balki Amerikada, Angliyada, boshqa mamlakatlarda o'qib kelgan vatandoshlar bilan menimcha gaplashsa yaxshi bo'ladi. So the next question is that AQShda maqola chiqarish bo'yicha training bormi? So is there training? Like if somebody wants to publish an article, right? And the person has no idea how to publish an article. Is there such a training program in the United States where they teach you how to publish papers in academic journals? Well, I mean, if you start your MA TESOL degree, like MA means master's degree in teaching English as a second language, or in most of the master programs or PhD programs in the United States, you usually, if you're a non-native speaker of English, so if you're an international student, you usually take a placement test, right? Placement test. Test topshiriladi. Siz inglizni yaxshi bilasizmi, yomon bilasizmi? In addition to IELTS or TOEFL exam, proficiency tests. Men siz vataningizda IELTS yoki TOEFL imtihon topshirgan bo'lsangiz ham, universitetga qabul qilganingizdan keyin placement test topshirasiz. You have to take the placement test. And so basically, based on the placement test results, the university will tell you whether you have to take supplementary academic English courses or not. These academic English courses usually include academic speaking, right? Have to present, or have to write academic way, basically. And so I took a course called Introduction to Academic Writing. Okay. And I also took a course called Advanced Academic Writing. And Advanced Academic Writing was taught by a professor who published extensively in the area of teaching English as a second language and applied linguistics. So and we also use the textbook. I will show it to you guys later. Oh, I have it in the PowerPoint presentation. I'll send it to you guys. So there is a training in most US universities. There are courses that train students how to publish in academic journals. Can you guys hear me well?
Yes.
Good. Very nice. So, and the next question is that AQShda masters yoki PhD qilayotgan talabalar uchun akademik maqola chiqarish majburiymi? So is it a requirement for master students or PhD students to publish an article while they are a student? No, it's not a requirement. So there is no such a requirement. Mm-hmm. Corona emasmanda, uzr. How about now? Can you guys hear me? Okay, good. Thank you. So yeah, so it's not a requirement for PhD or master students to publish paper while they are students. It's well, I mean, you are highly encouraged. You are strongly encouraged by your professors to publish academic papers and in academic journals, but it's not a requirement. Like there is no such a thing. If you don't publish a paper while you are a PhD student or master student, you know, you will be fired or you will not be able to graduate. Unaqa narsa yo'q. Ya'ni maqola chiqarmasin, biz seni haydab yuboramiz, unaqa narsalar yo'q. So for the boys, it's still echoing, and a couple of people, it's still echoing. So how about if everybody turns off their videos? Jamila, can you turn off your video just in case? Okay. So then the next question is that AQShda maqola chiqarish pullikmi yoki tekinmi? AQShda maqola chiqarish, so is, you know, do you have to pay to publish a paper in the United States? No. You don't have to pay to publish a paper in the United States. You know, there is no such a thing. Like, for example, I have around like 30 publications, book chapters and papers, academic papers, and I've never paid to any academic journals or to editors to publish. Okay. Good. Thank you, Shahla, for the feedback. So now the sound is great. Thank you. So you don't have to pay. Pulliga emas. Amerika Qo'shma Shtatlarini ingliz tili TESOL sohasi yoki applied linguistics sohasi bo'yicha jurnallarda maqola chiqarish tekin, pulliga emas. In the United States, if you want to publish in journals related to TESOL or applied linguistics, you don't have to pay. So I don't know about Uzbekistan. So, but in the United States, no. Yes, you can publish for free, Malika. Yes, you can publish for free, but the quality of your paper should be really good. Okay, and I'll talk about the ways to improve the quality of your academic papers. Okay, so far what we've learned was that, right, there is no requirement in the US PhD master programs to publish, and again, it varies from programs to programs. But in my universities, there was no such a requirement. Okay, and it's free to publish your academic papers in journals. So, Jamila Ermatova, can you name the journals? Yes, I'll show you the name of the journals later. So the next one is AQShda maqola chiqarish uchun qancha ketadi? Okay, what do you think? Qancha ketadi AQShda TESOL applied linguistics sohasida maqola chiqarish? How long will it take to publish in TESOL or applied linguistics related journals in the United States? 2 months? No. Yani kimda qanaqa fikrlar bor? 1 year, Gulnoza, very close. A year, Nazira, very nice. Yeah, it takes a lot of time. It takes about 1 to 2 years to publish in an academic journal, in a good journal. Okay, so I'm not talking about like FLEDU or OAC accredited journals. I'm talking about US-based journals that are respected in the area of applied linguistics and TESOL. It takes about 1 to 2 years. So that's why it's a little bit annoying for me to hear that some PhD students in Uzbekistan who are doing their PhDs in Uzbekistan, they have to publish around 2 to 3 papers before they graduate their PhDs in Uzbekistan. It's a bit off. O'zbekistonda agar sizlarga majbur qilishayotgan bo'lsa, PhD qilishdan oldin 2-3 ta maqola chiqarishni, unaqada shu qonunni chiqargan odamlar bir qarab qo'ysin. Amerikadagi, Angliyadagi olimlarga yaxshi jurnallarda maqola chiqarish uchun qancha ketayotganini iltimos. Yoki men bilan gaplashsin, men maslahat bergan bo'lardim agar quloq solishsa. So why? Chunki mana bunaqa narsa borda. So you have to do your research. Ilmiy ishni qilishingiz kerak. So it takes some time, right? It takes about, I don't know, like 1 to 2 years, maybe just to do your research, right? And now, if you write an opinion paper, and that's a different story, right? Opinion paper, you just write down just as a blogger, right? But if you want to do experimental research, it takes about some time, right? So, and you have to write it, right? Writing takes a lot of time, right? So, I was just, jokingly talking to Jamil Opa, right? I mean, whose kid was telling him, whose son was telling him, not to participate in this webinar because it's time for him to retire, for her to retire. No, I mean, learning never stops, right, Jamilova? Learning never stops. And she's a prime example for that, right? My point is that we have kids, we have family, we have some other stuff. Maybe some people have business, and you are also a PhD student on top of that. So how, it's difficult to write. So you also have to think about it. Of course, it doesn't mean that we have to be lazy. But it's just, it takes some time to write. And then you have to submit it to a journal. And please remember, especially for the Uzbek audience, before you submit to a journal, make sure that you have read 3 to 5 papers in that journal. Editors are not waiting for you. So, they're not like, oh, Uzbekistan bir odam maqola yozsa deb men o'sha maqolani chiqarsam hech kim kutib turgani yo'q. So nobody is waiting for you. So you have to be familiar with that. So now it takes some time. Now, let me share this with you. I am currently working with my colleague, and maybe some of you might know him, Shahzad Shorahimov. So, he works at the Tashkent Medical Academy. We're working on a paper. And I'm also working with a colleague who is a teacher at Westminster Institute of Westminster, basically, in Tashkent, and Irina Karimova. So we're working on a paper, right? So it took us some time to do the research, 1 year. Now we will send the manuscript to a journal, okay? And usually journal editor will review the manuscript. Journal redaktori ko'p chiqadi. And it takes about 2 weeks for him to review that. Or 4 kun ketadi. If he likes it, he will send it to blind reviewers. If he doesn't like it, he will say, hey, I'm sorry, this is such an awesome paper, but we cannot publish it in our journal. Agar yoqsa olib qoladi, yoqmasa uzr deydi. Chiroyli uzr aytishadi. Now, if he likes it, he will send it to 3 blind reviewers. Like blind reviewers basically means reviewers who will read your paper. O'zbekistonda bitta so'z bor-ku, taqriz yozib bering. O'sha taqriz qilishadi. Okay, so 3 blind reviewers, what does it mean? They don't know your name and last name, and you don't know them either. Okay, so for the sake of transparency, they will basically not know your name. And it takes them about 3 to 4 months just to review your paper. So, and onadan tug'ilganingizga pushaymon bo'lib ketasiz, bir xillari comment bersada. Like, you will see positive comments, you will also see negative comments. Okay, not negative, constructive comments. And some people, some reviewers are a little bit personal, not many of them, but some, okay? And so basically they will, give you constructive feedback on the methodology, on the introduction, on the language, on everything, okay? So the thing is, you are non-native speaker of English doesn't mean that your English is poor. Most of my native speaker professors, most of my native speaker friends also receive English-related comments. Yani ingliz tili, mani ingliz tilim ikkinchi til, men bu sohani bilmayman, yo'q, unaqa deb o'ylamaylar. Ya'ni bu yerda tug'ilib o'sgan, shu yerda tug'ilib o'sgan amerikaliklar ham shunaqa komment ochadi. Professorlarim ham olishgan, o'rtoqlarim ham olishgan. O'shanga anaqa har xil kommentlar olinadi. So then agar reviewerlarga yoqsa, if the reviewers like your paper, they will obviously accept it and say, hey, this is a good paper. Go ahead and make these revisions. Now, you accept their revisions, right? No, you accept their comments, sometimes from 3 to 4 pages, okay? And then you have to revise your paper based on their comments. And they will give you 3 months or 4 months. After 3-4 months, after you make the revision, you have to send your revised manuscript back to the blind reviewers. The problem is that you don't know who they are. And you communicate with them through editors. You know the name of the editors, usually very established people in the field. So then, you know, if editors will like it, they will say, okay, good, this paper can be published in the paper. Now, because we worked on the content, right? Methodikasida, results, discussion, hammasida ishladik. Now we'll work on the language, like editorial thing, right? Bu table bu yoqqa qo'y, mana bu yerda article kerak emas, buni bunaqa qil, fontini bunaqa qil. So you will work on the editorial comment. So it takes about 1 to 2 years. And so that's why if your PhD advisor in Uzbekistan asks you to publish 3 to 4 papers in the United States, yeah, you can ask him or her whether he or she has done that himself or herself. You know, that's a very good question. Chunki talabaga yetishdan oldin o'zimiz namuna bo'lishimiz kerak. So that's one thing. And now the next thing, I want to give you guys a couple of examples how you can publish in the United States and the US-based journals. Yes, Nargiza said double-blind peer-reviewed journals. Yes, you are absolutely right. In Uzbekistan, you have to publish several papers even you are not doing research. Yeah, bu noto'g'ri, Ma'mura Yusupova. Because you have to understand, some people want to do research, some people don't want to do research, right? So people who are making these rules, regulations have to think about it. Endi hozir sizlarga Amerikada qanaqa maqola chiqarishinglar to'g'risida aytib o'tmoqchiman. PowerPoint presentationda bor u narsalar, lekin baribir hozir sizlarga aytmoqchiman. Menimcha ustoz shogird an'anasini yo'lga qo'yishimiz kerak. Men bekor ustozlarni tanqid qilayotganim yo'q. Ustozlarimizni yaxshi ko'ramiz. O'zbek madaniyatidagi eng zo'r narsa bu yosh kattalarni hurmat qilish, ota-onalarimizni hurmat qilish, ustozlarimizni hurmat qilish. Lekin bir xillarida ustozlarimiz ham o'zlari qo'yayotgan talablarni ko'rib chiqsa yomon bo'lmas edi. Ayniqsa o'sha administratsiyada o'tirgan ustozlarimizni. Nima deydi, qonunni yo'lga qo'yamiz, hamma maqola chiqarish kerak degan ustozlarimiz shu narsani ko'rib chiqsa yaxshi bo'lardi. Lekin ustoz shogird an'anasini qurishimiz kerak. Nimaga? Chunki agar ustozimiz ko'p maqola chiqargan bo'lsa, biz ham ko'p maqola chiqaramiz. So we have to work with mentors, right? So for example, when I was in the United States, I took courses from some of the professors who published books, who published academic articles. And sometimes, like for example, when I took a pronunciation course, my professor would come and use some of the articles that she published. Her name is Okim Khan, by the way. Or like I took a couple of reading courses, TESOL reading courses from professors like William Grabe and Frederica Stoller, who are big names in the area of second language reading and academic reading. So, you know, Dr. Grabe used his book, which was published by Cambridge University Press. And so oftentimes he would talk about his experience, how he published his book, what kind of challenges he encountered while publishing his book. O'z-o'zidan ustoz shogird an'anasi bunga zo'r yo'l beradi. Muzikantlar bunga zo'r namuna. Afsuski, muzikantlarimiz, ashulachilarimiz, san'atkorlarimiz bunga zo'r namuna. Chunki ustoz shogird an'anasi ularda zo'r yo'lga qo'yilgan. Shuning uchun bilib olsangiz bo'ladi, qaysi bir ustoz ko'rgan, qaysi bir ustoz ko'rmagan. Gap so'zidan. O'shanga ustoz shogird an'anasini shu yo'lga qo'shishimiz kerak. Like for example, all of my professors, Allohga behisob shukr, were people who published in high-level academic, peer-reviewed academic journals, and time to time they would discuss their ideas with us, or sometimes they would encourage us to publish together with them, or it's an honor to publish together with them. So recently, for example, I published a paper with a scholar called Stuart Webb, who is a professor in Canada. Nadrapa, maybe you've heard of him, Stuart Webb, a big name in vocabulary research. So it was an honor for me to publish with him. So ustoz shogird an'anasini ko'rishimiz kerak. Keyingisi, every time, like for example, every time I hear a name, I usually Google that person's name. Xoh Uzbek bo'lsin, xoh Amerikalik bo'lsin, xoh Rus bo'lsin. If I see his paper or her paper, I usually Google that person's name, because that can give me a pretty good idea whether that person is a researcher or not a researcher. Okay, I don't care whether he's an academic prorector, or he's a rector, or he's a head of the innovation center, or he's a minister of education system. If I want to know whether somebody is a researcher or a not researcher, I usually Google his name. And this is a pretty good practice. If I were you guys, I would do exactly the same. Like if you see a name, right? So let's say somebody is presenting on academic publishing. Kim bo'lishidan qat'iy nazar, yevreymi, rusmi, amerikalikmi, o'zbekmi? Kim bo'lishidan qat'iy nazar. Uni ismini Google qilinglar, o'zi hammasini ko'rsatadi. Chunki mani nima g'ashimga keladi? Turkiyadan palonchi ekspertni olib keldik. Akademik maqola chiqarish bo'yicha bizga o'rgatar ekan. U odamning ismini Google'da yozash, hech ham maqola chiqarmagan. Amerikadan konsullik orqali palonchi odamni olib keldik. U bizga akademik yozishni o'rgatar ekan. U odamning otini Google qilasiz, hech narsa chiqmaydi. So if I were you guys, I would Google the researcher's name, and that's going to tell you whether that person has been doing research or not, and if yes, what kind of research that person has been working on. The next thing is watch useful videos on academic publishing. So like I for example made one video. Like usually when I'm working on papers, I usually use 4 tools that help me improve my academic writing. So I'll share that video with you guys later today in our Telegram group. Or in my presentation, I also put one hour long presentation by a guy called Graham Hall. He used to be the editor of the ELT journal. So let's watch these training videos on YouTube, whether it's in Russian, Uzbek, or English, because publishing is that kind of business. You have to, business table. You have to keep working on it. So, and be aware of useful resources. And also, are you guys familiar with the website called academia.edu? So academia.edu is a research platform where researchers from all over the world, from all sorts of different disciplines, upload their papers for others to review. Usually, if you go to a journal, right, you have to pay for that article. To'g'rimi? Jurnallar odatda sizga subscription pulini so'raydi, bu maqolani chiqarmoqchi bo'lsang pul to'lagin deydi, lekin academia.edu'da researcherlar o'zini promote qilish uchun ham boshqalar ularning ishidan xabardor bo'lish uchun ham tekinga qo'yishadi. Men misol uchun o'zim ishlarimni tekinga qo'yaman, чтобы odamlar kelib o'qisin. Yoki researchgate.net o'shani ham qo'yaman. So I also have a researchgate.net website. I'm also subscribed to that platform, so you can see my academic articles that I published, and I've uploaded them on that platform. Keyingisi, nazarimda kecha Nizomiy davlat Toshkent pedagogika universiteti bilan ham shu narsa to'g'risida gaplashdik. Mana Saodat opam shu yerdalar. So I had this conversation with a group of master and PhD level students about academic publishing. So it was hosted by Saodat Odilova, one of the professors at that university. She also teaches at Arizona State University. So somebody proposed an idea of doing collaboration between American scholars and Uzbek scholars on this issue. right? Like maybe we can co-publish papers together. I think this is going to be a really great initiative. Amerikada o'qigan o'sha umidchi akalarimiz, opalarimiz bormi? O'sha Amerikada hozir universitetlarda ishlayotgan akalarimiz, opalarimiz bormi? Shular bilan menimcha birga aloqa qilib maqola chiqarishni yo'lga qo'ysak, menimcha zo'r bo'ladi bu narsa. Juda ham zo'r narsa bo'ladi. Chunki Amerikadan kelib kimdir tushuntirishi mumkin, Rossiyadan kelib kimdir, Turkiyadan kelib kimdir tushuntirishi mumkin. Nazarimda O'zbekistonlik bir-birini yaxshiroq tushunadi deb baribir. O'shanga I feel like there needs to be some sort of vatandoshlar bilan ishlash, ayniqsa akademik ishlarni qilish yo'lga qo'yilsa zo'r bo'ladi. Because in the United States, for example, I went to the US university. I didn't just study here and get information. I also had to learn the culture, mentality, way of life, way of thinking, approach to academic skills. So these things are totally different. So I had to train myself, right? So when I'm in Uzbekistan, I have to train myself again, right? So these are two different things, and cultural differences exist. I mean, even most of my nephews and nieces go to Russian-based schools in Uzbekistan. Their mentality is already different, right? Like for example, I went to a typical Uzbek school in Mahalla, and my wife went to a Russian-based school in Tashkent. So, right? I mean, we have differences in ways we approach to different things. Even though we are both Uzbek, we grew up in Tashkent, right? And we both have US degrees. So collaborate with vatandoshlar, compatriots in US. Misol uchun prezentatsiyamda Rauf Salaxo'jayev degan insonni ko'rsatdim. Eshitganmisizlar buni, Rauf Salaxo'jayev? Men o'zim ko'rmaganman bu odamni, Kunuzdan bilaman. O'sha Westminster universitetida ishlaydigan odam, Scopusda ko'p maqolalari bor. Nimaga? Bu odam Cornell degan universitetga, bundoq Google qilsam, bu odam Cornell degan universitetda o'qigan ekanlar. Cornell u juda ham mashhur universitet. Kolumbiyadan qolsa qoladi, ya'ni ortsa ortadi, qolmaydi emasda. Juda ham mashhur universitet. Yoki yana bitta vatandoshimizni rasmlarini qo'ydim. Baxtiyor Sheraliyev. Texasda biologiya bo'yicha, Texasda emas, Xitoyda biologiya bo'yicha PhD qilyaptilar. Anaqa Angliyani universitetini branchida PhD qilyaptilar. Hujayra Uz degan Telegram gruppalari bor. O'sha koronavirus chiqqanidan beri Telegramda odamlarga to'g'ri ma'lumot berish bilan shug'ullanyaptilar shu odam. Ya'ni bu odamlarni yana qo'yganimiz sababi, bu odamlar Scopusda chiqadigan jurnalda maqola yozishgan. Misol uchun men Applied Linguistics TESOL bo'yicha Scopusda 6 ta maqolam bor. Bu odamlarda undan ham ko'p maqolalar bor. Ya'ni shu odamlar O'zbekistondagi vatandoshlar bilan birga ishlab narsalar qilsa, bizlar misol uchun birga ishlasak, juda ham zo'r bo'ladi. Kim bilsin, balkim bir ikkitalar bilan yil oxirigacha yoki keyingi yil maqola chiqaramiz birga. So there needs to be some sort of collaboration. So yana bitta odam savol berdilar, mayli oxiriga qolmoqchi edim, aytmoqchiman, Scopus Amerikada mashhurmi? Scopus Amerikada mashhur emas. Men O'zbekistondagi hamkasblar bilan gaplashib, keyin bildim Scopus nimaligini. So Scopus in the area of TESOL and applied linguistics, Scopus is not popular in the United States. After I talked to my colleague in Uzbekistan, then he told me that, about Scopus, and, you have to have, this many numbers of articles that are based on Scopus journals. Then I heard about it. Otherwise, I had no idea about Scopus. Scopus was it? There are also free journals in Scopus, yes. So, the next thing is, o'rtoqlar, so hamkasblar, akademik jurnallarda maqola yozishdan oldin akademik yozuvimizni ozgina to'g'irlab olishimiz kerak. So, if you want to publish manuscripts and academic journals, we have to improve our general academic writing ability. And I know that it's hard. I am a non-native speaker of English, but I'm proud of myself. Yes, I make mistakes. That's okay. Mistake is part of life, right? Albatta Somov aytuvdilar, odam bor joyda xato bo'ladi. O'shanga o'xshab, we will live and learn, right? So, but I also understand that in Uzbekistan, for example, I don't know about now, but before 2004, I remember that writing was dictation. which is not writing. Dictation is just to check your spelling, right? So that's why it's really important for us to improve our writing ability. And when I say writing, like in IELTS, you need to have around 8 or 9. If you really want to start writing for academic papers, make sure that your IELTS writing is about 8 and 9. And it's not that hard. IELTS is not that hard test, So if I were you guys, I would just improve my writing. Okay. And I know that, so you have to go to training, and maybe in other pen I can do one training on writing, maybe a workshop or a course or something like this. So we'll think about it. But make sure that you have, in IELTS band, so you need to have around 8 or 9. And IELTS is not a punishment. It's just your general English language proficiency level. You got it? So in other words, if you have an 8 or 9 in writing in IELTS, it means you should be able to start working on your academic writing. Because at the end of the day, you have to write. And especially you have to write in second language. I mean, let alone in second. I mean, qanchamiz o'zbek tilida maqola yozganmiz? O'zbek tilida ham yozish qiyin-ku, to'g'rimi? Men misol uchun Chicago Uzbek American Association of Chicago bor bu yerda. O'zbeklarimizni birlashtirish bilan shug'ullanamiz. Hamda millatdoshlar bilan, O'zbekiston bilan ishlash, hamda bolalarimizga o'zbek tilidan darslar berishlar bilan shug'ullanamiz. Men o'sha tashkilotning kengash a'zosiman. Facebookinglar bo'lsa, qaranglar, Uzbek American Association of Chicago. Bir xillarda o'zbek postlar yozishga to'g'ri kelib qoladi. Odam qiynalib ketadi. Bo'lsam arzimagan post. Hey azizlar, 21-mart kuni Navro'z qilamiz. Kelinglar, kelmoqchi bo'lsanglar register qilinglar. Ingliz tilida bittada keladi. O'zbek tilida o'tirib, tekshirib, Facebookda bir-ikki odamlar yozib qo'yishadi. Hey, mana bitta xato qilibsizlar. Hey, bu yerda qolib ketsin hamma narsada. O'shanga ya'ni nima deydi? O'zbek tilida ham qiyin deb baribir. O'shanga bu yozuv, bu aytdim-ku boshida training bo'lish kerak deb. Shuning uchun ham akademik training bo'lishi shart. O'zimiz ham o'ylaylik, o'zbek tilida yozish qiyin-ku. Shuning uchun aytaman. Keyingisi bitta kitob bor, men buni prezentatsiyada ko'rsataman. Academic Writing for Graduate Students. Kim agar Amerikada o'qigan bo'lsa, Nodir opa bilmadim, Kanadada ham bo'lsa kerak. Anaqa Swales and Fig degan avtorlar bor. Academic Writing for Graduate Students. Uje 3-chi editioni chiqqan. 3-chi edition degani, 1-chi edition omadli bo'lgan, 2-chi edition omadli bo'lgan, 3-chisi uje chiqdi-da. Qiziq narsa, so if you want to improve your academic writing skills, please get this book. And my friend Shahzad Sharahimov, who works at Tashkent Medical Academy, has this book. And I don't know where else, there's such a book. Yesterday, in fact, I was talking to Sadat Adilova and Nizami bilan gaplashganda. So maybe we should apply for a grant or something. In order that I can make a list of useful textbooks and ship it to our colleagues in Uzbekistan. I don't know. I mean, if you guys find a grant, either from British Council, if they're still generous, and if you guys work for, if you see a grant from American Embassy in Uzbekistan or Uzbek Embassy in the United States, Uzbekistan Embassy in the United States, maybe we have to do that because this is a useful book. Amerikada kelgan chet ellik talabalarni men qo'rqmasdan aytaman, 90% academic writing dars olsa, mana shu kitobdan foydalangan. So this book basically provides information about academic genres from all sorts of disciplines, ranging from engineering to chemistry, linguistics to sociology, and gives how you should organize your introductory methods, results, and discussion paragraphs. İkinci avtori Christina Fig. Bu odam English for Specific Purposes degan jurnalda redaktori ekanlar. Menga aloqaga chiqdilar 2 yil oldin. Men bitta maqola bor. Maqola Xitoy to'g'risida ekan. Blind review dedim-ku. Blind review. Bir xillarda jurnal redaktorlari anaqa murojaat qilib turishadi. Men bu maqolani ko'rib beringlar deb. So o'shanda bu odam chiqdilar-da, aytdilarki, men bitta xitoylik bir hamkasb ikkinchi til yozuv bo'yicha maqola qilgan ekan. O'shani ko'rib bergin, qani bu bizning jurnalga kerakmi, kerak emasmi dedilar. So Christina Fig wrote me an email and asked me whether I could review one of the manuscripts. Keyin bilsam, bu inson O'zbekistonda bo'lgan ekanlar. Xudo xayrisini bergur, umri uzoq bo'lgur, kimdir shu olim odamni olib kelgan O'zbekistonga. Baraka topsin. Chunki men aytdim-da, O'zbekistondan men bir xil joylarimda ko'rib chiqdim. Men O'zbekistonda bo'lganman, Toshkent bozorida ham bo'lganman, Samarqandda ham bo'lganman deb aytdilar menga. E-mailda gaplashdik. Bu odam akademik yozuv bo'yicha rosa ko'p maqolalar chiqargan odam. Hali sizlarga aytdim-ku, Google qilinglar deb. Ishonmasanglar Google qilinglar. Christina Fig, manimcha University of Michigan'da ishlaydilar. Shu mana shu kitob juda ham zo'r bo'ladi. Malika Ulmasbayeva aytibdilar, make a list please. Harakat qilaman. O'sha Nizomiyga ham o'zi anaqa qilyaptim listini-da. Elektron formasini topsa bo'ladimi bilmadim. Bilaman, O'zbekistonda hamma narsani topsa bo'ladi lekin. Tushunmagandirsiz. Amerikada lekin sotib olishimiz kerak. O'zingiz tushunolasiz. Mana shunaqa narsa. O'sha video o'qiganman, o'sha videoni ham jo'nataman. Endi kimdir yozdilar. Kimdir yozdi-da menga, otlari esimda yo'q. Men EFL o'qituvchisiman. EFL bo'yicha misol uchun o'qituvchiman. O'qituvchilarga doir qanaqadir jurnallar bormi, maqolalar bormi dedilar. O'shani listini qildim men 16-slaydda. Hali prezentatsiyani yuborganda ko'rasizlar. 16-slaydda bor. O'sha yerda 4 ta jurnalni beramanmi? Hozir aytaman. 15-slayd ekan, uzr Nodir aka, 15-slayd ekan. O'sha yerda bor, misol uchun ELT Journal, English Teaching Forum, TESOL Journal, Asian EFL Journal. Bu jurnallarni atigi ikkitasi Scopus'da. Kim baqirib Bu jurnallarning ikkitasi Scopus'da. ELT Journal bilan TESOL Journal Scopus'da. Именно shu ikkita jurnalda ham maqolalar chiqarish qiyinroq, lekin men bu English Teaching Forum bilan Asian EFL Journalda maqola chiqarish osonroq bo'ladi, Scopus'da emas lekin. Lekin Amerikada yoki Kanadada, Angliyada ingliz tili bo'yicha yoki amaliy tilshunoslik bo'yicha ish qilib borayotgan odamlar biladigan jurnal. Tushuntira oldimmi? Chunki Amerikada, misol uchun Amerikada bizning sohada Scopus yo'q, lekin fan soha egalarining orasidagi jurnallar bor-da. Scopus'da bo'lmasa ham hurmatga sazovor. Shu. O'shanga men nima xohlardim? Maqola chiqarishdan oldin iltimos mana shu jurnallarda maqolalarni o'qib yuringlar. Bilaman bu painful. Chunki meni ham ikkita qizim bor. Hozir prinsessalar kirib qolishi mumkin. Meni ham qirolicham bor. Lekin shundan vaqt topib, ya'ni ajratib maqola o'qishingiz kerak, boshqa narsa qilishingiz kerak. Men mana shu 4 ta jurnalni sizlarga maslahat bergan bo'lardim. Bo'lmaganda bir oyda bitta maqola o'qinglar bo'ldi. Agar bitta joyini tushunmasanglar yana o'qinglar. Men ham o'qiyman. Reading bo'yicha professorim bor, Professor Grabe. Ulardan so'radim, maqolalarni bir necha marta o'qishimga to'g'ri kelyapti desam, "Voy, men ham bir necha marta o'qiyman" dedilar. Men yig'lab borsam, ular qo'ng'irab chiqdilar. So, I have a professor, right? I have a professor, and I asked, I complained in front of him. I said, sometimes I have to read like one paper several times. If I read it once, it's not clear to me. What should I do? And my professor, who has done extensive research on reading, told me that sometimes he has to read some chapters and articles more than once. So it's a regular practice, right? O'zimiz ham shunaqa qilamiz, misol uchun kunuzda, daryo o'zida qanaqadir maqolani ko'rib qolamiz, bir xil joylarni shunda o'qib ketamiz, bir xil joylarni yaxshilab qarab o'qiymiz, to'g'rimi? So that's why ELT Journal, English Teaching Forum, TESOL Journal, Asian EFL Journal. So in the PowerPoint presentation, I did a hyperlink. So you can go to the journal homepage, and also you can see my papers that I published in these journals. Okay. So, and also in English Teaching Forum, there's a very interesting article about Uzbekistan. So, and the next one is, okay, if you really like, mandan so'rasanglar, siz qanaqa boshlagansiz maqola chiqarishni deb. Men birdaniga unaqa groundbreaking research ustida ishlashni boshlamaganman. So I didn't work, I didn't publish a groundbreaking research. I mean, in fact, I haven't published a groundbreaking research. I'm just interested in certain things, and I just publish, just to quench my thirst, just to know whether I'm on the right direction or not. So I actually started with a book review. Kitobga taqriz yozish bilan boshlash, menimcha zo'r bo'lsa kerak. Yangi kitob chiqadi, so there is a new book, right? Either by Cambridge University Press, Cambridge, Oxford, Macmillan, whatever presses. So you have a new book. you email the publisher or the journal editor and say, hey, I really want to publish a review for this book. I want to do book review. Can you please send me the book? They usually send you the book. You read the book and you look, you basically read the book and you write a review. Reviews are usually 1 to 2 pages long. You talk about your, you talk about your general impression about the book. Okay, something you liked, something that's missing, and you send it to the journal editor, and the journal editor will publish that in their journals. Okay, if they like it, or if they, if they think that you have to review it or revise it, then they will ask you to revise it. The thing is that publishing review is much easier. Publishing a book review is much easier than publishing an actual article. But it's a good practice. You will get to know a publisher. You will get to know a journal editor. You will also get to read some articles published in that journal. Sekin-sekin mana shunaqa bosqichma-bosqich chiqadigan narsalar. Bir xil odamlar bor. Kechirasizlar. Bir xil odamlar bor, birdaniga zo'rdan boshlaydi. Men misol uchun unaqalardan emasman. Sekin-sekin boshlanadigan joylari bor-da. O'shanga ham, if you want to publish a book review, I think this is going to be a great practice. Okay. I also encourage my students in the United States to start with the book review. So in slide 16, 16 slide'da men qo'ydim jurnallarning listini. Mana shu jurnallarni o'zida book review editorlar bo'ladi. Asosiy editor emas, book review editor bo'ladi. O'sha jurnalning veb-saytiga borsanglar ko'rasizlar. Hyperlink qilganman. O'sha yerda topib, o'sha odamga yozsanglar, u odam sizlarga kitob yuboradi. Bunaqa prestijli narsa emas. Unaqa narsa emas, lekin bu juda ham zo'r praktika bo'ladi. Ming afsuski, menimcha o'sha PhD qilayotgan talabalarga book review yozsa ham menimcha o'tmaydi, to'g'rimi? Maqola chiqarishinglar kerak. Menimcha bu noto'g'ri. O'zbekistondagi akademik faoliyat hozirgi kundagi narsalarni hisobga olgan holda menimcha o'sha tepada o'tirgan akalarimiz, opalarimiz, qonun chiqaradigan odamlar book reviewni ham qabul qilib tursa yaxshi bo'lardi menimcha. Bu millatimiz uchun foyda bo'lardi. Misol uchun 10 yil book reviewni accept qilib turib, odamlar o'rgangandan keyin sekin anaqa nima deydi, requirementni sekin ko'tarsa, sekin o'zgarish bo'lardi-da. Ya'ni otdan oldin anaqani qo'ymagandek bo'lardi-da. Meni fikrim bu. Kimdir yozibdi literary book. Yo'q, literary book emas. Endi sizni sohangiz literature bo'lsa bilmadim, lekin o'sha sohamizda chiqqan kitoblar, misol uchun Nodir opamga kecha Azarning kitobini ko'rsatdilar, to'g'rimi? Azarning kitobini misol uchun agar yangi kitobi chiqsa, o'sha kitobni olib review qilsangiz bo'ladi. Yoki misol uchun men misol uchun kitob chiqardim. Mana shu kitobni misol uchun olib, mana shu kitobni review qilsangiz bo'ladi. Tushunarlimi? Yangi kitob bo'lishi kerak. 1 yil, 2 yil oldin chiqqan kitob bo'lishi kerak, eski kitob emas. Yoki misol uchun qaysidir avtor mana bu kitobni yozgan, bu kitob yangi kitob misol uchun. Mana shu kitobni o'qib chiqasizlar, keyin o'sha sohasiga ega bo'lgan narsa bo'yicha nima publish qilasiz. Misol uchun qaysidir singlimiz aytdilar, opamizmi singlimiz aytdilar, men corpus linguisticsga qiziqaman deb. Agar misol uchun corpus linguistics bo'yicha 2-3 ta jurnallar bor. Agar corpus linguistics bo'yicha yangi jurnal chiqqan bo'lsa, o'sha jurnalda misol uchun maqolani o'sha jurnalning editoridan yangi chiqqan kitobni so'rab, o'sha kitobga book review yozib, o'sha jurnalda maqola chiqarsalar bo'ladi. Oh, good. Saodat Odilova book review yo'q, Saodat opa, bu vahshiy zo'r narsa bu. It's easily accepted. Chunki journal editorlarni o'zi qidirib yuradi. Chunki sizlar meni to'g'ri tushuninglar. Unaqa misol uchun magistraturada o'qiyotgan bola uchun men bir 4 tami 5 ta book review yozganman Amerikada. 4 ta 5 ta book review yozganman-da. PhD ga topshirayotganimda PhD'dagi professorlar ko'rib, bu bola demak akademik maqola chiqargan ekan, demak akademik narsalarga qiziqishi bor ekan deb o'sha narsa plus bo'lganda. Tushunasizmi? Endi PhD qilayotganimda professorim chaqirib aytganlarki, book review qilmay turgan vaqting ko'p ketyapti. Ikkinchidan senga uni anaqasi yo'q, nima deydi, plus tomoni yo'q deb aytganlar. Tushuntira oldimmi? Ya'ni boshlanishiga book review bu juda ham zo'r narsa. User yozibdilar, qay tarzda zapros beriladi. O'sha slaydda 16 slaydda bor informatsiya, o'zingiz xohlagan jurnalni topasizda, o'sha jurnalni har bitta jurnalning o'zini book editori bo'ladi. O'sha book editoriga aytasiz, men shu sohadagi bitta kitobni review qilmoqchiman. Agar o'zingiz kitob topib, o'zingiz book editoriga yuborsangiz, unda vaqti plus bo'ladi. ya'ni men mana shu kitobni ko'rdim, mana shu kitobni review qilmoqchiman men, shuni menga yuborgin deb. Nima qiladi book editor publisherga jo'natadi, aytadiki, ey, seni chiqargan kitobingni, sen pul qilmoqchi bo'lgan kitobingni bir odam review qilmoqchi bizning jurnalga, odamlarga aytmoqchi, o'shani davay anaqa qilgin, menga jo'natgin, men o'sha odamga jo'nataman deydi. Keyin sizga vaqt beradi, 6 oymi, 5 oymi, 5 oyda reviewni tugatib yozib yuborasiz. Yangi kitoblarni o'zingiz qidirib yurishingiz kerak, Nazira. O'sha Oxford University Press, Cambridge University Press, boshqa presslardan o'zingiz qarab yurasiz. Barnom Muxtorova, book review to'g'risida balki alohida gaplashamiz. Chunki anaqada, nima deydi, o'sha bir xil joylar bor. Yaxshi bo'ldi. Mana shu savollarni hamchi o'sha mentor hubga tashirsizlar. Agar Zoomda saqlab qolish imkoniyati bo'lsa, men yana qarab chiqaman-da. Bo'ptimi? Saodat opam zo'r fikr berdilar. Let's start with Ulugbek's book deb. Promotion bo'ladi. Shunaqa. Keyin yana bitta narsa, o'sha Saodat opa agar qiziqadigan o'quvchilar bo'lsa aytsin. Agar o'quvchilaringiz orasida o'sha gamega qiziqadiganlar bo'lsa, aytsin. Hasan, can we get your book? Bu narsa to'g'risida keyinroq gaplashamiz. Book lekin bor. Men mentor hubga kirsangiz tashlab yuborganman. Kimdir yozdi-ku, kitoblarni qayerdan olamiz, qayerdan bilamiz o'zida. Maqola chiqarishdan oldin balkim bizni o'sha har xil organizatsiyalarning veb-saytini tekshirib yurganimiz yaxshi-da. Mana misol uchun tSOL organizatsiyasini veb-saytini tekshirib yurishimiz kerak. Misol uchun o'sha tSOLda mana misol uchun meniki New Ways in Teaching with Games, kitobim. Qayerdan bilganman buni? tSOLda New Ways series bor. Misol uchun New Ways in Teaching Vocabulary, New Ways in Teaching Grammar, New Ways in Teaching Writing, New Ways in Teaching Reading. Mana shularni bilib yurardim-da, o'zim havas qilardim-da. Men ham mana shunaqaga chiqarsam bo'larmi ekan deb-da. Misol uchun do'stimiz Shorahimov bilan New Ways in Teaching Grammar degan kitobda maqola chiqarganmiz. Uni men PowerPointda share qilganman. O'sha kitob rasmi bor, kitob rasmiga bossanglar PDF chiqadi. Yoki misol uchun New Ways in Teaching Vocabulary, Avril Cox tomonidan qilingan Academic Vocabulary List eshitgansizlar va Academic Word List. O'shani qilgan ayol Avril Cox o'shalik kitob chiqarganlar. U ham tSOL veb-saytida aytadi, ey o'qituvchilar, fikringlar bo'lsa bizga jo'natinglar deydi. Fikrlarini jo'natishadi, keyin editorlar bundoq qarab, buni kitob holiga chiqarishadi. Bu kitob bilan nima bo'ldi? Qizlarimiz bilan uyda zerikib qolib, ayolim hammamiz o'yinlar o'ynashni boshladik. Keyin men o'yladim, bitta kitob qilsak bo'lmasmikin deb. Keyin professorimga yozdim, keyin professorim bilan o'sha narsa ko'rdinglarmi? Mentorlar bilan ishlash. Professor bilan keyin buni qildik. Yozdik, O'zbekistonga ham tarqatdik. Misol uchun O'zbekistondagi o'qituvchilardan 4 ta O'zbekistondagi o'qituvchilar keldi. Lekin bittasini qabul qildik. 4 ta odamdan keldi, chunki 200 dan ortiq maqolalar keldi. Shunaqa qilib ham maqola chiqarsa bo'ladi. Ya'ni bu ham hisobga ko'rish kerak, eksperimentallik bo'lishi shart emas. Shuning uchun ham O'zbekistonda o'sha akademik ishlar bo'yicha prorektor bo'ladimi, innovatsiya vaziri bo'ladimi yoki oliy ta'lim assotsiatsiyasining boshlig'i bo'ladimi, iltimos qilardim. O'sha Amerikada, Angliyada ishlayotgan vatandoshlar bilan qonun chiqarishdan oldin maslahatlashishlarini yoki o'sha Koreyani model qilib olmamizmi, Yaponiyani model qilib olmamizmi, qaysi mamlakatda model qilishimizdan oldin o'sha yerdagi olimlar bilan gaplashishlarini chin dildan xohladim, chunki faqat eksperimentallik ilmiy ish emas maqola chiqarish deganda. Shu. Jamila Elmetova yozdi, I've experienced reviewing locally published books. Zo'r. Misol uchun akademik nashrda bor, to'g'rimi? Zo'r. Yana kimdir, okay, online book club bor ekan. Can you find how to write book review on that? Munojat, xudo xolisa, opa yoki singil qilamiz, xudo xolisa buni. Keyingisi o'sha social mediada kuzatinglar. Mana shu tSOL organizatsiyasini bor-ku, social mediada kuzatinglar. Keyin iltimos esinglarda tursin writing book process. Yani writing is a process, right? So you brainstorm an idea, then you write the first draft, and you show your first draft to somebody else, and the person will give you a comment, and you revise it again, and you give your paper to somebody else again for comments, and that person will give you some comments, and you revise it again, and maybe you can pay for editor to revise your paper. So writing is process. It takes a lot of time. o'sha yerda agar prezentatsiyani ko'rayotgan bo'lsanglar, o'sha yerda rasmi bor, u Obamani nutqi u. Hamma yog'iga chizib tashlashgan. Agar Obamadagi Garvardni bitirgan odam rostdan ham shunaqa ko'p mehnat qilishi kerak bo'lgan bo'lsa, unaqada biz hali ko'p mehnat qilishimiz kerak ekan. Ya'ni writing is process. Keyingisi, bilasizmi, akademik yozuv bor-ku, men uchun akademik yozuv bu ilhom emas, bu disiplina bu. So academic writing is not about inspiration, it's discipline. Why? Because Abdullah Oripovdagi, Erkin Vohidovlarga, Tohir Malikdagi odamlar bo'lish uchun ilhom bo'lishingiz kerak, tez yozib tashlaysiz, to'g'rimi? Lekin akademik odamlar uchun ilhom shart emas, chunki yozadigan mavzungizni bilasiz. Prosta o'tirib yozish kerak. So, right, if you're a creative person, if you're writing a poetry, then probably you have to wait for inspiration, right? But for us, people who want to publish academic papers, we sort of know what we want to write about. We just have to sit down and write it. So maybe we have to avoid social media and write it. So like, for example, in fall semester, and it's my problem too, like I usually publish something when my daughters are sleeping, or before they wake up, or when I'm in a coffee shop. So sometimes on Saturdays and Sundays, I go to coffee shop for 2 hours so that I'm not distracted. Yes, coffee shop is a noisy place, but you know, at least I get some work done. Or when I'm in the office, there is time, I close my door and I put my alarm clock for 1 hour. 1 hour, I don't look at my phone. I don't answer any phone. I don't listen to the door if somebody's knocking. I just work, and I don't check my emails, and I work on it. It's super active. Dushanbadan jumagacha agar maqola yozmoqchi bo'lgan, PhD qilmoqchi bo'lgan akalarimiz, opalarimiz, hamkasblarimiz oddiy fikr. Mani bitta shiorim bor, 1 soat 1 maqola. Dushanbadan jumagacha har kuni 1 soat o'tirishga harakat qilaman. Internetga qaramayman, oldimda oq qog'oz, bir xillarda zerikib ketaman. 1 soat shunaqa uzunligi menga o'shanda bilinadi. 1 soat shunaqa uzun bo'lib o'tib, xuddi tishingizni yuganingizda odatda doktorlar aytadi-ku, 1,5-2 minut qilgan deydi-ku. Shu uzun vaqtga o'xshab tuyuladi. O'zi arzimaganda, lekin mana shu uzun. Xuddi o'shanga o'xshab, ya'ni 1 soat 1 maqolani o'zingizga shior qilinglar. Endi birovlar aytadi, haftada 4 soat debdi. O'shanda maqolalar bo'ladi. Bo'lmasa, misol uchun vaqt o'tib ketib qoladi. Shular endi bir nima deydi, 15 minut 20 minutcha savol javob qilsak bo'ladi, agar Nodir opam ruxsat bersalar, lekin savol javobdan oldin aytmoqchiman, shu maslahatlarmanda yana bir marta aytganimdek o'sha nima deydi, o'zimni tajribamdan kelib chiqqan holda mana shu maslahatlarni berdim. Shu Nodir opamlarga mana shu Telegram uyushtirganlarga kattakon rahmat. Yana mentor xabar orqali uchrashamiz xudo xolisi. Shu savolinglar bo'lsa, hozir bemalol beringlar. Zoom orqali yoki Telegram orqali javob berishga harakat qilaman. Nazira degan yozibdilar. How do you select your article to publish? How do you know whether they are still actual? Should you come up with an article which has a revolutionary idea to have it published? O'sha aytib o'tganimdek, o'sha maqola chiqarishingizdan oldin bor-ku, jurnalni siz zo'r bilishingiz kerak. Chunki jurnallar tiqil yotibdi-da, juda ham ko'p. Masalan, Journal of Pragmatica bo'yicha, Corpus Linguistics bo'yicha 3-4 ta jurnallar bor. TESOL Quarterly, TESOL Journal, bular odatda general, Applied Linguistics, Second Language Studies in Second Language Acquisition. Bu odatda o'sha brain researchga qarab ketyapti. Cognitive Linguisticsga qiziqadigan odamlar Studies in Second Language Acquisition ga qiladi. Revolutionary bor-ku, men shu narsaga qiziqmadim-da. Bilaman, O'zbekistonda revolutionary deyishadi. O'sha kecha ham aytib OAK boshlig'i Yusupov Ahmadbek ekanmi? O'sha odam juda ham gaplashib maza qilganman. Shu odam bilan gaplashganimda ham aytuvdilar, bizga revolyusion ideyalar kerak bizga debdi. Bu narsaga men umuman qo'shilmayman. Chunki bir xil Einstein bo'lishdan oldin ancha mehnat qilgan. Mozart bo'lishdan oldin ancha mehnat qilgan. Uni adasi kuchli kompozitor bo'lgan. Mozart adasi. Ko'pchilik buni aytmaydi. Tiger Woods golf o'rgatayotganda garajda birga o'tirib shug'ullanishgan. Ya'ni o'sha buyuk odamlarning orqasida katta odamlar turibdi-da. Shuning uchun revolyutsiya idea qilaman desangiz, o'zingiz orqada qolib ketib qolasiz. Undan ko'ra o'zingiz qiziqqan narsani qiling, zo'r bo'ladi. Birinchidan o'zingiz xursandsiz, oilangiz xursand. O'zingizni qaysidir bergan savolingizga javob topdingizda, o'shanga o'zingiz qiziqqan narsani qiling. Men shuni maslahat beraman. Jurnal topishda bo'lsa, o'sha jurnallarni o'qiganingizda-chi o'zi bilasiz, qaysi jurnalga sizning maqolangiz mos keladi. Shunaqa. Oliy ta'limda ishlash uchun ilmiy ish qilish shart O'zbekistonda. Okay. Zayna aytibdilar, as you mentioned. Yeah. So, shuning uchun men aytyapman, Zayna, ya'ni O'zbekiston kimni model qilib olyapti? Balkim Amerikani model qilib olmayotgandir. Agar Amerikani model qilayotgan bo'lsa, iltimos O'zbekistondagi boshliqlarimiz, akalarimiz, opalarimiz, akademik prorektorlarimiz bilib qo'ysin. Amerikada research university bor, teaching university bor. Bu ikkalasi bir-biridan farq qiladi. Shu Aziza Shonazarova vatandoshimiz bilan nimaga faxrlanamiz? Chunki O'zbekistondagi hech qaysi universitet dunyoning 10 mingtalik reytingiga kirmagan paytda u inson dunyoning 100 taligiga kiradigan universitetda professor bo'lib ishga qabul qilindilar. Bu katta narsa. Shuning uchun ham hamma universitetda dunyoning o'zini talablari bor. Shu narsalarga e'tibor berishimiz kerak. We should have enough knowledge and experience to write academic articles. Barno miqdori to'ppa-to'g'ri o'sha aytgan narsalarimiz. So as you said, right, we need to have experience. Like, first of all, we need to have a general language proficiency, right? So we need to have general language proficiency to write an article. And afterwards, we have to be familiar with academic genre, right? So we have to learn how to write for academic journals. And third of all, we have to read academic articles. So in US-based PhD programs, master programs, right? Every week we have to read an article. Every single week we discuss it. And some of the articles were written by professors who are teaching that course or their friends, So that's why, like, for example, I am teaching my courses. Sometimes I bring my articles. Show off qilish uchun emas, maqtanish uchun emas. Sometimes it's relevant. So. Yoki mana misol uchun tan kitobini maqtayapti deb o'ylamanglar. Mana shu kitobni yozishda ham New Ways in Teaching series bilan tajribam bo'lgan. New Ways in Teaching Vocabulary degan kitobda xuddi shunaqa seriyada maqola chiqarganman. New Ways in Teaching with Grammar deganda chiqarganmiz Charles do'stim bilan. Keyin shu fikr kelgan. Kitob o'zi 2016, bu kitobga fikr 2016-yilda kelgan. Buni maqola qilib, buni kitob qilib chiqarguncha mana o'zi 4 yil ketdi. Shunaqa, misol uchun men endi o'zim bunaqa ko'rsatmoqchi emasman-ku, maqola qiladigan odamlar 2 yildan keyin qaysi maqolam chiqishini hozirdan o'zi bilaman-da. Nimaga? Chunki aytdim-ku sizlarga, maqola chiqarishga 1,5 yil 2 yil ketadi. O'zi bilasiz qaysi paperingiz chiqyapti-da. Shunaqa. Yoki misol uchun O'zbekistonga borganimda bu yil O'zbekistonga bormoqchi edik yozda. Odamlar uyimlarni ko'rgan. Misol uchun o'zim uchun niyat qilib qo'ydim-da. Falon institutga borib, piston odam bilan ishlayman, piston odam bilan ko'rishaman. Men bu maqola ustida balki gaplashib olamiz deb o'zi miyamda o'sha qilib qo'ydim-da. Endi yaxshilikka bo'lsin. Avvalambor sog'liq. As you mentioned about that, there are really brilliant teachers in teaching itself, but they aren't. Yeah, Zayna to'ppa-to'g'ri. Yeah. I mean, zo'r o'qituvchi bo'lish qiyin-da. Zo'r o'qituvchi bo'lish qiyin. Agar zo'r o'qituvchidan maqola qilib talab qilish bu ham noto'g'ri, chunki u o'qituvchilikka qiziqadi u odam. U odamni, so that person is really interested in teaching, that person is really interested in working with kids. Why do you want to encourage them to publish? Why do you want to have them publish something? Instead, instead ask them to write, let's say, 4-page article where they discuss how they teach certain skill. To'g'rimi? Misol uchun article o'qitganda nima qilasiz, ustoz? 4 varroli maqola chiqaring. Right? So, article shouldn't be just an experimental research. Article can be teacher friendly or research friendly, right? So, PPT Lobar Usmonova opamiz yo singlimiz PPT jo'natiladi, xudo xohlasa PPT bo'ladi. O'sha PPT da hyperlinklar bor. O'sha bundoq tagida link bo'lsa, bundoq bossanglar boshqa linkka olib boradi. O'sha yerda tanishsangiz bo'ladi, xudo xohlasa. Rahmat. Nargiza Masharipova, how long did it take you to write the literature review while conducting your research in PhD? It's a taboo question. Qancha ketdi deyaptilar literature review yozishingizga PhD-da? Well, it took about 1 to 2 years. I mean, again, right, writing is process, right? So my first draft was ready, And I had to send it to my professors, and my professors were awesome. John Jameson, William Grabe, Frederica Stoller, Randall Sadler. Masha odamlar manda literature reviewingga qarab comment berishgan. So these people commented on my literature review. And one of the beautiful things about my professors was that they were committed. Anaqa emas, mayli men bilan qilarsan emas, mayli men bilan ilmiy ish qilarsan, unaqa emas. They were committed. They spent time with me on that. I mean, Joan Jameson, I remember like one or two times we met on the weekend. Or I remember my professor, Dr. Stoller, was giving me comments on her flight back from Japan to the United States. So, o'shanga misol uchun yozilgan, lekin buni revise qilguncha 1 yil 2 yil ketganda. If you are interested, you can Google my name and type dissertation, and you will see my dissertation if you want to. So you can find my dissertation on Google. Lola Usmonova ishonchli maqola yozsa bo'ladigan saytlarni yozib yuboring. So ishonchli maqolalar yozsa bo'ladi. Okay. Men o'sha PowerPointda hozir aytaman sizga. PowerPointni bilasizmi? Qaysi slaydida? PowerPointda 15-slaydida click here to see a list of journals that are popular in the areas of TESOL and applied linguistics deganman. O'sha yerda sohamizda Scopusda yo'q bo'lsin yoki bo'lmasin, TESOL va applied linguistics sohasida mashhur jurnallarni, hurmatli jurnallarni listi bor. O'sha listda ko'rsangiz bo'ladi. O'sha yerdagi ishonchli ham hammasida publish qilish tekin. Mabodo pul so'rab qolsa, iltimos menga ayting, chunki men ham bilib qo'yay, lekin ular tekin. What do you think about plagiarism? Plagiarism Barnom Muxtorova. Plagiarism qilmanglar. Chunki jurnallar plagiarismga tekshiradi baribir. Yaxshi emas plagiarism qilish. Balki Nodirpan o'zlari yoki nami yoki kimdan ham balki mentor hafta plagiarism bo'yicha seminar qilar. Menimcha plagiarism bo'yicha gaplashishimiz shart. O'zbekiston ta'limidan chiqqanmisiz, plagiarism to'g'risida gaplashishimiz shart. Bu bizning og'riqli nuqtamiz. So if you got your degree from a university in Uzbekistan, maybe you should get a plagiarism training. That's my friendly suggestion. To'g'ri tushunasizlar. Ulugbek aka, my PhD Simit bo'lajak ingliz tili o'qituvchilarida tadqiqot ko'nikmalarini rivojlantirish, but unfortunately I couldn't find even one dissertation about it in Uzbekistan. What can you suggest about it and where I can find my resources? Okay. Siz zo'r temani boshlabsiz murojaat. Opa yoki singil ingliz tili o'qituvchilarida tadqiqot ko'nikmalarini rivojlantirish. Bu narsa hamma joyda muammo, nafaqat O'zbekistonda, balki hamma joyda muammo. Lekin menimcha eng zo'r yo'li o'zicha bitta kitob chiqarishimiz kerak o'zi. Mana shu bilasizmi, mana shu TESOL sohasida o'qiganlar yoki social studies deydi-ku, o'sha Amerikada psixologiya, antropologiya, tarix yoki boshqa sohasida ingliz zabon universitetlarida o'qigan odamlarni ham maqola chiqargan odamlar menimcha o'zi bitta kitob yozishimiz kerak O'zbekiston auditoriyasi uchun. Misol uchun bitta maqola tanlaymizda, shu maqolani chiqarganda nimalarga e'tibor berdim, qaysi metodikalardan foydalandim, yoki qanaqadir intervyu qilishimiz kerak, yoki qanaqadir training qilishimiz kerak. Bu narsani qilishimiz shart. Bo'lmasam xafa bo'lmanglar, ko'nglingizga olmanglar. Nazarimda O'zbekistondagi ilmiy ish qilish darajamiz 80-yilda qolib ketgan. Chunki men shunaqa deb o'ylayman. Noto'g'ri gapirayotgan bo'lishim mumkin. Uzr, masalan, men til sohasida, xorijiy tillar sohasida gapiraman. Xorijiy tillar nazariyasiga kelib. Chunki qonun chiqarayotgan odamlar Leningradda, Moskvada 80-yillarda o'qishganda. O'shandan keyin ilmiy ishni yig'ishtirib qo'yishgan, asosan administratsiya bilan shug'ullanishgan. O'zligisiga ham aytganman buni email orqali. Chunki Amerika Qo'shma Shtatlarida ilm qachon boshlanadi? Ilm aspiranturani qilganingizdan keyin boshlanadi. PhD qilganimdan keyin men ilm ko'proq qilishni boshladim, chunki vaqtim bo'ldi. Ungacha men o'rgandim. Agar noto'g'ri gapirayotgan bo'lsam, aytinglar. O'zbekistonda aspirantura tamomlaganingizdan keyin ilm to'xtaydi. Chunki u eng oliy darajada-ku. O'shanga ham o'sha O'zbekistonda ilmiy ish qilish metodika bo'yicha bitta ham kitob topib olmaysiz. Chunki bo'lsa ham o'sha 80-yillarda Moskvalarda chiqqan, o'sha Rossiya paytida chiqqan akalarimiz, ustozlar bir ikki narsalarni rekomendatsiya qilib ko'rishadi. Lekin u o'zini aldagan bilan baravar. Lekin agar kitob yozsangiz zo'r ish bo'ladi. Mana shu O'zbekiston auditoriyasi uchun Amerikada, Angliyada o'qigan odamlar bitta kitob yozsa, zo'r ish bo'ladi. Bu millatimizga qilgan katta servis bo'ladi. O'ylab yuribman. Xudo xohlasa balkim bo'lsa, aytayapman-ku, ya'ni oilangizdan orttirib, ishingizdan orttirib O'zbekistonga e'tibor berishingiz kerak-da uning uchun. What is the difference between academic research and scholarly articles? Hassan, they are the same. Academic research, scholarly articles are the same. Odatda research article deganda experimental narsalar tushuniladi. Misol uchun statistika ishlatib, misol uchun telefon bilan vocabulary o'qitsa bo'ladimi? Bitta gruppaga telefon bilan vocabulary o'qitasiz, ikkinchi gruppaga telefonsiz vocabulary o'qitasiz, keyin qanaqadir test berasiz. Kim testda katta ball oldi? Telefon ishlatgan gruppami yoki telefonsiz gruppami? Bu o'sha research article-da. Scholarly article bo'lsa, o'sha akademik jurnalda chiqqan maqola odatda scholarly article yoki academic article deb hisoblanadi. Odatda research article deganda o'sha experimental research, ya'ni eksperimentda bor. Misol uchun manba kitob experimental yoki research book emas. Bu scholarly book, lekin anaqa for teacher audience. Ya'ni academic book for teacher audience. Keyingisi chet elda Lobar Usmonova, chet elda PhD qilish moddiy jihatdan osonroqmi? Agar sizga assistantship berishi oson. Menga misol uchun nima bo'ldi? Menga teaching assistantship berishdi. 5 yil shu bo'yicha o'qidim. Ya'ni teaching assistantship degani misol uchun o'sha intensive English programmasida men dars berdim. Dars berganimga ular menga pul berishdi. 20 soat ishladim. 20 soatiga pul berishdi. Boy yashamaysiz. Lekin nima deydi, agar o'zingiz bitta o'zingiz yashasangiz zo'r. Agar oila bilan yashasangiz, endi taqa-taq qilib yashaysiz. O'zbek ayollarining nimasi zo'r? Juda ham creative, pul saqlashga rosa usta. Do'kondan tashqari. O'shanga ayolim bilan birga yashadik. Keyin ular ham talaba bo'ldilar. Keyin ular ish topdilar. Keyin mana shunaqa qilib yashadik-da. Atak o'zingizda oldingizda akalarim ham bir xillarda pul jo'natishdi menga. O'zbekistondan turib PhD qilayotganda akalarim pul jo'natishdi. Chunki men Amerikada qonunni buzganim yo'q. Ya'ni ishlash mumkin emasmi, ishlamadim. Lekin o'sha zo'r yordam bo'ldi. O'sha nima deydi, Intensive English Institute'da 5 yil ishladim. Birinchidan tajriba, ikkinchidan menga pul to'lashdi. Endi Britaniyada menimcha Nodir ham gapirsalar yaxshi bo'lardi. Amerikada shunaqa. What's your research paper's theme? Mani research papers Sohiba Begmatova. Mani research papers theme collocations. Vocabulary'da asosan ishladim. Corpus linguistics ishlatib, o'sha o'quvchilarni collocation bo'yicha ko'nikmalarini qanaqa rivojlantirish va texnologiyani bunda qanaqa ishlatish. Hali sizga aytdim-ku, Google qiling, meni ismimni Google qilingda, TESOL yoki Applied Linguistics deb yozing, chiqadi. Yoki men bir PowerPoint presentation olsangiz, o'sha yerda linkim bor, o'sha linkimga kirsangiz, o'sha yerda dissertatsiya topikimni ko'rasiz. Azamat Ahmedjanov. Azamat Ahmedjanov, could you suggest the criteria for writing an article? How to structure it? What questions should it answer? Hali sizga aytdim-ku, academic writing for graduate students. Swales and Fiki kitobi bor-ku. Ana o'sha kitobni ko'rib chiqing. O'sha zo'r bo'ladi. Hozir Nodir opam ko'rsatyaptilar. Swales and Fiki kitobi, o'sha kitob zo'r. Can I share your webinar with our university administration? No. But you can ask your university, maybe we can do a separate webinar with them. Nazira. Okay, to change all the stuff. Chet ellik professor yoki doktor bilan ustoz shogird hamkorligini o'rnatib ilmiy izlanish qilsa bo'ladimi? Okay, bu zo'r savol bo'ldi. Kelinglar, yana ikkita savol olaman deb bo'ldi. Keyin xudo xohlasa tugatsak maylimi? Chet ellik professor yoki PhD doktor bilan ustoz shogird hamkorligini o'rnatib ilmiy izlanish qilsa bo'ladimi? Ma'mura, opa-yu singlimiz. Bo'ladi, lekin qiyin. Chunki nimaga qiyin? Chunki mana misol uchun men ishlayapman hozir. O'zimni rejam bor, shaxsiy rejam bor, ilmiy rejam bor, hamda boshqa rejalarim bor. O'sha rejalarimga mos kelish kerak-da. Tushunasizmi? Misol uchun birinchidan siz o'sha professor ishini zo'r bilishingiz kerak. O'zidan o'zi yozmang, iltimos. Ishini bilib, agar sizga o'sha professor yordam bera olsa yozing, bo'lmasam yozmang. Agar o'sha professor sizni sohangizda bo'lsa, siz o'sha professor bilan ishlashga niyat qilgan bo'lsangiz, yozing, iymanmang. O'zbeklarimiz iymanamizda yomon ham iymanadigan xalqimizda, shu narsani singdirib tashlashgan bizga. Bir tomondan yaxshi, bir tomondan yomon. Iymanmang. Yo'q desa ham javobda sizga. Tushunasizmi? Ya'ni no, I don't have time to work with you desa ham o'sha javob bo'ladi sizga. Sizga zo'r experience bo'ladi. O'sha chet elda odam topgan bo'lsangiz, iltimos yozing. Yana bitta narsa bor. Ustoz shogird an'anasini shunaqa qilsa bo'ladi. Ikkinchisi, bilaman PhD'da o'qiyotgan talabalar chet elda o'qigan odamlardan taqriz olishlari kerak. Nima deydi? Shu narsani qilgan odam bekor qilibdi-da shu narsani. Shu narsani majburlagan odam bekor shunaqa yozibdi-da, chunki Amerikaning madaniyatini, Angliyaning madaniyatini bilmaydigan odam shu qarorni qilibdi-da. Chunki kimning vaqti bor ekan? O'zbekistondan bitta o'quvchi yozar ekanda, u taqriz qilib yozib berish kerak ekanda, qo'lini qo'yish kerak ekanda, O'zbekistonga yuborish kerak ekan. Nima, Amerikadagi professorlarning boshqa qiladigan ishi yo'q ekanmi? Shu joyga nima deydi, aytmoqchimanki, to'g'ri, O'zbekiston chet bilan ishlamoqchi, O'zbekiston olimlari chetga chiqmoqchi, lekin Amerika, Angliya madaniyatini ham bilishinglar kerak-da. Ya'ni misol uchun menga priority emas-da, misol uchun kimdir ishini o'qib, kimdir narsasini yozib berib, chunki o'zimning ishim tiqilib yotibdi-da. Mana shunaqa. Shuning uchun ham, ya'ni aytmoqchimanki, chet eldagi professor bilan ishlamoqchimisiz, uni ishini biling oldin. Uni kitobini yoki maqolasini o'qigan bo'lishingiz shart. Shu. Lekin iymanmang, xat yozishda iymanmang, agar shu narsalarni qilsangiz. Oxirgi savol, if you plan to come to Uzbekistan, Fergana State University is looking forward to your visit. Zo'r ish bo'ladi. Barnom Muxtorova, agar O'zbekistonga borsam, Farg'onaga chaqirsanglar, Mavodiyda hech ham bo'lmaganman. Bilasizlar-ku, Toshkentliklar dangasa bo'lamiz-ku. Toshkentdan tashqarisiga chiqmaymiz. O'shanga zo'r ish bo'lardi-ya. Kontakt qiling, Farg'onaga borib, o'sha yerdagi hamkasblar bilan gaplashib kelardik. Shu hozircha shu yana savolinglar bo'lsa iltimos, anaqa qilinglar, mentor haqga tashlaylar yoki yana alohida boshqa seminar qilamiz. Nodir opa, nima deb o'ylaysiz?
Ya, rahmat katta Ulugbek, mazmunli suhbat uchun. Juda mana savollardan ham ko'rinib turibdi, odamlarga menimcha qatnashchilarga hammasiga yoqdi. Yana agar talablar bo'lsa, savollaringdan yig'sanglar, balki yana bir marta qilarmiz.
Inshaalloh. Savollarni hammasini yig'ib,
masalan, agar qanaqadir bir maxsus bir nimalar, topiklarni chiqarsa o'shaning ichidan qilsak bo'ladi, bizga nimamiz yo'q. Menimcha shu ham aytganingizdek, gapingizdan mana ham ikkita fikr keldi. Birinchidan aytganingizdek, hamkorlikni yo'lga qo'yish kerak, aytganingizdek, chet eldagi mana tadqiqotchilarimiz bilan. Bu chet eldagilar uchun ham yaxshi, chunki ular ham har doim qidirib yuradi. O'zbekistondagi material kerak, to'g'rimi? Kimdir data yig'ib berish kerak ular uchun, to'g'rimi? Shuni ikkinchisi bu aytganingizdek bir qanday bir flash mob qilishimiz kerak deyman, ya'ni shu tepadagilarga yetib borishi uchun bu har oyda ikkita maqola chiqarish bu nonsens ekanligini shu haqiqatdan aytaman, bu chet eldagi bir hamma nima qilishni bilmayman, bir o'ylash kerak, qanday bir flash mob qilib qanaqadir bir qo'shma qanaqadir bir bayonot deydi-yu, shunga o'xshab bir qilsak menimcha, yoki nima deydi, ochiq xat deydi-yu, shunaqa bir nima qilish kerak menimcha, chunki bu sifatni tushib ketishiga qaytanga olib keladi, to'g'rimi? Chunki hamma sonni ketidan yuguraverib, bo'ldi, nima deydi, nima bo'lsa ham o'tdan mana ko'ryapman, mana hozir Jamila opa ham nima aytishadilar, pulga nima chiqarib beradiganlar ko'ruvdim ham Telegramda ham filkina grammatalari qanaqadir ham mana bunaqa falon jurnal deb o'zigacha chiqarib olishgan, endi sifati оставляет желать лучшего, конечно, nima deydi. Shu menimcha shuni bir o'ylashimiz kerak. Ochiq xat qilamizmi yoki bir video qilamizmi? Menimcha bu shuni qilish kerak bizani.
Xudo xolisa. Shuni bir o'ylab ko'rib anaqa qilsak bo'ladi. Endi mana shu webinar ham shunga bir xudo xolis turtki bo'lsa yomon bo'lmas edi.
Rahmat.
Kattakon rahmat Nodir opa sizga ham mana shuni taklif qilganingiz uchun, ya'ni shuni uyushtirganimiz uchun.
Rahmat.
Qolgan hammaga kattakon rahmat. Iltimos o'zingizlarni ehtiyot qilinglar. Bizdan ham qizaloq martda 13-dan beri maktabga bormayapti. Men ham onlayn beryapman. Shu hammamiz uydamiz, lekin olganmiz.
Yaxshi. Rahmat katta. Hammanglar yaxshi dam olinglar. Yana yaxshiliklarda ko'rishaylik. Xayr.
Xayr.